Today, we're diving into a story about our favorite friends. Finn the dolphin and Spike the shark. It was a beautiful sunny morning under the sea. Sunlight danced through the water, making everything sparkle. The entire ocean was buzzing with excitement. Corals seemed to wave their arms. And fish were practicing their synchronized swimming. Why? Because today was the day of the Great Sea Parade. Every sea creature, big and small, was getting ready for the biggest celebration of the year. Our friend Finn, the cheerful silver blue dolphin, zipped through the water, a playful grin on his face. Spike! Spike, where are you? He called out, his voice bubbling with energy. We're going to be late for the best day ever. Spike the shark, who was much smaller and friendlier than most sharks, was busy trying to balance a starfish on his nose. He was dreaming of being the star of the parade. I'm right here, Finn, he said, the starfish wobbling. I'm just practicing my grand entrance. To be a famous hero, you need a grand entrance. Finn giggled, causing a swirl of bubbles. A grand entrance is good, Spike, but a grand float is even better. I have the most brilliant idea. He gestured with his fin towards a huge pile of shimmering shells they had collected. We'll build the most magnificent float the ocean has ever seen. It'll be a masterpiece. Spike's eyes widened. A float. Net made of shells. That's brilliant, Finn. We'll be the stars of the show for sure. He imagined crowds of fish cheering their names. So, they got to work. Finn, with his boundless energy, started stacking shells in a tall, wobbly tower. Spike, being more careful, tried to arrange them in a beautiful pattern. A little to the left, Finn, Spike would say. No, no, a little to the right. Finn, trying to be helpful, would nudge a shell, but being a bit clumsy, he'd often nudge it too hard. Oops! He'd say, as a cascade of shells tumbled down. Spike would sigh, but then Finn would make a funny face, and they'd both burst out laughing. Finally, after hours of hard work, their float was complete. It was ... unique. It was a tall, spiraling tower of colorful shells, with a big conch shell on top as a horn. It's perfect, Finn declared proudly. It's wobbly, Spike said, eyeing it nervously. But Finn was already pushing it towards the parade route. The parade was incredible. There were seahorses marching in perfect lines, giant turtles carrying gardens of seaweed on their backs, and a school of angelfish creating shimmering rainbow patterns. Okay, Spike, our turn, Finn shouted. They pushed their float into the parade line. At first, everything went smoothly. The other sea creatures gasped at their creative, if slightly unstable, shell float. But then, Finn decided to add a little flair. Let's show them a spin, he yelled. He gave the float a playful push, but he pushed a little too hard. Throw. The float began to spin, faster and faster, like a top. Whoa, Finn! Stop! Spike cried, holding on for dear life. The float tilted, it wobbled, and then it flipped completely upside down. Shells flew everywhere, clattering and clanking. The float was now skidding across the seafloor, heading straight for the beautiful coral reef. Oh no, the reef! Spike yelled, his dreams of fame turning into a nightmare of embarrassment. But Finn, instead of panicking, started to laugh. He couldn't help it. The sight of their upside-down floats spinning around was just too funny. His laughter was infectious, and soon Spike started to chuckle too. He looked at Finn, who was trying to catch falling shells, and his fear turned into fun. There the creatures in the parade stopped and stared. But they weren't mad. Seeing Finn and Spike laughing so hard while their float spun around in circles was hilarious. A few small fish started giggling, then a crab, then the entire parade audience erupted in laughter and cheers. Their float, instead of crashing, gently bumped into a soft patch of sand right before the reef. Finn and Spike, still giggling, waved to the crowd. Their float was a mess, but they didn't care. They hadn't won for having the prettiest float, but they had become the stars of the show for making everyone laugh. Even the judges, a panel of wise old sea turtles, were smiling. They swam over and awarded Finn and Spike a special prize, a ribbon made of the softest seaweed for most joyful performance. Spike looked at the ribbon, then at Finn. "Well, Finn," he said, a huge smile on his face. "I guess we did have a grand entrance after all." Finn winked. "I told you we'd be the stars of the show," Nez as sun set, casting a warm golden glow over the ocean. Finn and Spike swam side by side, their laughter echoing through the water.